Hey guys, Hannah here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to do some book reviews of my top 5 romance novels. First off I'm starting with Mr. Maybe by Jane Green. I love this book so much. It was on my mum's bookshelf and I was like, oh, can I just borrow this book? And then I kind of just claimed it and I keep reading it and it's so good. So there's 27-year-old Libby and she lives in London. And she just has this idea of having a rich husband, and she's like, oh, I just want to be treated with all these nice lavish things and live in the nice part of town. And then she meets this guy Nick, and he's the opposite of that, and I think he's in between jobs and on the benefit, and all his friends are on the benefit and they just go to the pub. And she's like, oh, we're just gonna hook up a few times and have a fling, I'm not gonna be serious with him. And then she meets this other guy who's her dream guy called Ed, who lives in Regent Park, and he's super well off, and he's got this big fancy house, and he buys her all these nice things. And he's actually really boring though, and they don't really get along, and some of the things he says, she's like, I don't get it. But anyway, she ends up with one of them. I'm not going to spoil and say who, but it's very spicy. Now this book is also quite spicy. This is How Not to Fall in Love Actually by Catherine Benito. It says it's a laugh out loud romantic comedy. I didn't think it was a rom-com, to be honest. I thought it was more just a romance book. But basically she's dating this guy and he's a bit of a dickhead. And then they break up, and then a few weeks later she finds out that she's pregnant. She's 27 as well actually. And then she's like, oh my god, why did it have to be his kid? He's just ugh. And all of her family and friends were like, you shouldn't have been with him and this stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's her sister sets her up with this guy, and they just start chatting and they're just friends. And then they've just been friends for ages, and he's kind of living with her the whole time that she's pregnant. And then he's there when she goes into labor and takes her to the hospital. And very spicy. They may or may not end up together. I won't spoil that one for you. And then Love from Paris. This is by Alexandra Potter, and this is actually a sequel to her first book, The Love Detective, which I haven't read. And I've read this book so many times, but I feel you don't really have to read the first book to get this book. But I also feel because they reference the first book, it would make more sense if you read that one. So I've been planning on doing it. I just haven't been able to find the first book, because I got this book when we were overseas. I think I got it in a Spanish bookshop. It was one of the few English books. Oh, this looks kind of spicy. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I can't stop reading it. And I read 50 pages in one day. And so basically it's this girl Ruby. She's got this new boyfriend Jack, who she met when she was over in India, which you find out about in the first book. And he's from America, she lives from London, and they doing long distance. And he was meant to come over for her birthday and surprise, I wasn't surprised. He was just coming over because it was her birthday. And then he just doesn't get on the plane, and she doesn't know that though, because she'd had her phone on silent waiting in the airport, and then didn't turn up and was like, who am I waiting for? And then she sees all these missed calls and emails and things, because he'd been trying to get through to her, and she's like, okay. And because it's her birthday, and her best friend's like, oh, you should just come over on the Eurostar and visit me in Paris, because one of her best friends has now moved to Paris. And so she does that, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy myself, have a lovely weekend. And she spends the weekend with her best friend in Paris, and she meets this kind of mystery guy. She's like, oh, he's a bit cute. And yeah, kind of spicy. I'm not gonna spoil that one, but definitely romance sparking everywhere there. Another one is The Boy on Cinnamon Street. I feel it's more of a teen book. I wouldn't read it now. I haven't read it in 3 years. It's by Phoebe Stone, and it's basically about this girl who like doesn't live with, I think her parents passed away if I remember, and she lives with her grandparents. They basically like raised her. She got these two best friends and they're brother and sister, but they go to the other high school in town, so she doesn't really like see them at school, and she doesn't really have any friends at school. And she's like chasing this guy, and she's like, oh, you know, like he used to live in her house with like where she lived with her parents, and oh, he would be like the perfect guy. And yeah, I can't really remember that one. But it was just like one of my favorite ones at the time. Now this, I'm sure most of you have heard of The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I cried so much reading the book, and then when I watched the movie after, I cried even more. I'm not going to spoil it. I feel like a lot of you have actually read or watched this, so it's not really a spoiler, but I just didn't want him to die. I wanted both of them to survive, to be happy together, to have a nice, like, happy life, happy wife, husband, you know? They were so perfect together. Or even, you know, if they didn't end up together forever, if they both like survived, and then it was like 10 years later, here they are now. And I don't know, it's like the Nicholas Sparks books. Why do they do this to us? That's why The Notebook isn't here. I cried too much in The Notebook to have it in my top 5. But actually, speaking about Nicholas Sparks, I did like his books, The Longest Ride and The Best of Me. I've read those books quite a few times as well. But those were just my top 5, but like those two are close, like 6, 7. And I watched the movies, I cried in The Best of Me. Like, you can see, I get very emotional about my romance books and characters just dying. I'm ruining my love stories. Like, anyway, on that note, my next book review that I'm going to do at the end of this month is going to be on like murder mysteries / like crime or just like general mysteries, because I feel like quite a few people like those books. So if you have any recommendations, I'll put a little question box up on my Instagram a week before I make the video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and stay tuned for more of my videos, and like and subscribe to my channel.